Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Monday, December 11th. Thought today we'd kind of talk about accountability, but I also want to talk to you about what I'm trying with like these double cameras and get your take on it. I see Francisco said that he likes it. I looked at the video. I didn't care because it's like I'm not able to show you. I got to get better at this, right? And that's how we get better. You take a novice person, and if they want to become good at something, they have to keep trying to make themselves better the following day, the following video. So hang with me on this. I'll get this sucker figured out. But so welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about accountability. And accountability boils down to just accepting responsibility for your own actions. That's being accountable, right? So, why is it so important that we're accountable for our actions? It doesn't matter whether it's business or your home life, personal life. If you're that type of person that is quick to blame other people for what's going on, and you're not willing to accept your part that you played maybe in that scenario, the scenario could be simply, you and a buddy, getting pissed at each other over whatever, and instead of you accepting the responsibility of, okay, I understand you're pissed. What did I do to piss you off? And then try to, make it better. And for you guys that don't know how to handle, what I call uh, garbage basically, but it's a tiff. Whether it's with a friend, guy on the street, whatever, the quickest way to end an argument is just say you're right. How can you argue with somebody that just told you that you're right? Well, you're damn right. You're damn straight. I'm right. Well, you're right. And I use that a lot, depending on the situation and stuff. If it's what I have like a bullshit meter, okay? And my bullshit meter says, okay, down here is least important and up here is most important. If it's down here, it's total bullshit. And it's never going to amount to anything. It's not going to make a difference in anything. It's just going to add more chaos to my life, right? So, you're right. Move on. But in business and in your personal life, taking responsibility for your actions is one of the best things that you could ever do. I mean, I'm listening to the news and I'm listening to, you know, 30 and 40-year olds, with student loans being canceled because they say they can't afford it. Well, if they went to work, like you and I probably, I paid my student loans back. You had a choice, or your parents had a choice, of whether to send you to college or not, or for further education, or not. Maybe you got out of high school and went right to work. Why should you, the one out of high school that went to work or went to a trade school or, what have you, but hasn't got any student debt, why should you be responsible for these other ones, is what I'm getting at. It's not the government's money. It's our money, and we're supposedly entrusting them to do the right thing with it, right? I know. Don't even get me started. I'm not going to get into politics today. But that's an example of being accountable. You and your parents decided you wanted to go on for a further education, and now you're strapped with all this debt. And you just have to become accountable like everybody prior to you. And that is, they borrowed the money for the student loans, pay them back. And I had mine set right up so they just took it right directly out of my account every month, that way I wouldn't forget. But by doing so, it also put a value on my education. See, I think if somebody were to pay my way for the whole education, it might not have meant as much as it does or did. Because it's an accomplishment. And you earned it. You worked hard for it. You paid for it. But the biggest reason to become accountable is if you're the type of person that points fingers at everybody else, okay, it's always everybody else's fault, right? We all know those people. Excuse me. They are not taking responsibility or accountability for their actions. It's always somebody else. And it will always be somebody else. It's not that hard to just accept responsibility and become accountable for what you do. In business, now, I can use my business for example. We're going through a slow cycle, and it'll pick up, but in the meantime, I'm looking at other ways to introduce more income into the business. I'm not sitting back and crying foul that, this one or that one ruined my business, or that I haven't got enough money to, make a truck payment or a house payment or, this or that. I'm responsible. I'm accountable. It's like these guys that are driving around these brand spanking new trucks without a job, and they can't make the truck payment. $600-700 a month. You really didn't need that truck. Nobody forced you to go buy that truck, right? You chose that path. And it's like buying a home that's twice the size of what you needed and twice the cost. And blaming other people because you can't make your payment, right? We all have choices. We always have had choices. You're not going to pick the correct choice every time. We are infallible, we are human, but we just need to pick ourselves up by the backside, dust us off, and keep going. If you don't have enough money coming in from your one job to make the truck and the house payment, take on a second job, third job. Every place I go, there's help wanted. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? Or maybe think about, downsizing, to something more affordable. But the more and more I watch TV, I watch how people are not being held accountable for their actions. Even criminals these days. You can murder somebody and just get a hand slapping and an ass chewing, and you're out before law enforcement can even fill out the paperwork. That's got to be demoralizing. That would be something that gets stuck in my craw, if I were a law enforcement officer and this is taking place. And you got all this smash and grab. You got this riots. You got protests. But if you go talk to any of them, somebody else is accountable for their actions, or that's what they say. They get a choice. Do I participate in this protest, or do I stay on the sidelines and just keep my mouth shut? Do I have any skin in the game? I don't. I know what I want, and I know what my expectations are of our government when it comes to helping other countries. But that's as far as it goes. I'm not old, I'm too old now to be drafted to go help out in a battle. And I don't have the skill set anyways. But I've always said that, you don't have a lot to say on a subject unless you have skin in the game, okay? You can talk, but if you're Joe Schmo that's never been military, never had a job, college student, and you're trying to tell me about the war in Afghanistan or Iraq, Israel, Iran, I don't see where you have anything to say about it. You can say how you feel, but if a soldier wants to speak to me about it that has been deployed, they've got skin in the game. They put their ass on the line for us. So, I will listen to them. But I think the biggest thing that we're not teaching our kids is being accountable. Holding them to the fire of you need to. But you're saying, well, I'm trying to teach my kids that. No, you're not. I can see it every day when I turn on any channel, whether it's, Fox or CBS or, See, as a parent, you have to hold your child accountable. You're doing a disservice to your child when you don't. See, I feel that when it comes to responsibilities as a parent, that's our job. not the governments, not the school systems, not, the town. It's my job. It's my job, first of all, to keep my child safe. Second of all, to teach them values and good morals like I was taught. Because what I'm seeing now is excuses. I'm seeing, and I don't care whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, what have you, but I think you see the same thing, is that why is the government making excuses for these kids doing things that when I was their age, I'd have got my ass paddled. I think even in my 20s, I'd have got my ass paddled. Like, what the hell are you doing? Because I don't know why, but a lot of parents have given up their rights. You should never, ever compromise on this, of giving up your rights to raise your kid. And teachers aren't teaching what they should be teaching your child, that you want them to learn, then there's a problem, right? And if they're not teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and they're teaching gender identity and sexual stuff, pictures, at an early age, I got problems. If you know me in person, you would know that my feeling on this is let the children be children. Let the child be a child, and enjoy things and be inquisitive and allow them to learn. But also be willing to discipline. Sometimes we need a good crack on the ass. And it's funny, that in my situation when I was younger, my father, he didn't think twice about grabbing the belt, that straighten us out. But when my grandparents took over raising me and my brother, we didn't have that. And I'll tell you, I would rather have been cracked on the ass with a belt than disappoint my grandparents. Right? And that's how they raised me. It wasn't with the whip. It was with, these are our expectations and you've disappointed me. And I always told my kids the same thing, there's a difference between being disappointed and love. I will always love you. Nothing will ever get in the way of that. Nothing. But there are going to be times that I'm not happy with what you're doing. I'm going to be disappointed by your actions. But never equate that to love. And that's how my kids were disciplined. I didn't leave it up to the school system. I didn't leave it up to the government to raise my kids. My wife and I did. The government can't even figure out how to run their own business, let alone try to raise a child. And a lot of teachers are up in arms because they're seeing that these different test scores that are coming out, that the kids are getting further and further and further back on what they should already know. But somebody's got to accept responsibility and be accountable, right? And for me, the accountability starts at home with your kids. You, as parents, raise your kids, protect your kids. So, if anything, give this some thought. But you're gonna find that if people will find it refreshing when other people accept responsibility and become accountable for what they've done, didn't do, say, what have you. And I think you'll see a lot better relationships, whether it be with friends, family, will get better as well. But the big thing is you have to become accountable. Because the only one you can change is who? You. You have no control over anybody else. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday. And like I said, I appreciate all the comments. I'm going to try doing some more of this, the two camera, but I got to get in the mind of the photographer and seeing what I want you to be able to see instead of my ass, right? All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching.